Hello everyone, welcome back to our Super Accessories YouTube channel. I am Buzz, and in today's video we're going to be talking to you about a very cool product that we have made available online on our website superaccessories.com.au. The product that's going to be the feature of this video are the Irc Quickshifters from IRT Components in Italy. Just before I continue with this video, I'd like to ask you for a really quick favor. Make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell buttons so that you are notified every time we upload a video on our channel. And also, to let us know what you think about today's video, you can simply just hit the like or dislike button if you didn't like it. If you have any comments, suggestions or questions, please also leave them in the comment section below. We will leave a link to this product on our website in the description of this video, thank you, and let's start with the video. Alright, this is kind of like a part unboxing, part installation help, part configuration and setup video of the Irc Quickshifter. Alright, so let's quickly unbox the Quickshifter and see what's inside and what's so special about this product. So I think the box actually itself is pretty cool. Those are the installation instructions, and then basically straight out the bat you see that it's nicely sort of assembled box with the shift rod. The shift rod comes included in the price, so all you have to do is when you go to buy one on our website, you can just select which size you want. To find out the size that fits your bike is basically you measure the OEM shifter rod length on your bike and then take away 50 mil, and then what you do is you select the correct shift rod size that you want to come with this package on our website. The next thing that you see is the control module. Basically this is the whole brains of the operation of the Quickshifter. It has two buttons here, one is up and one is down, or one is the top and one is the bottom button. It's very easy to use, as you will see in the video later on. And then of course you have the strain gauge sensor that you install on your shift rod. It's worth noting that this strain gauge sensor is actually FIM approved. So what that basically means is that this sensor can be used on any of the FIM sanctioned racing competitions, right? So regardless if it's MotoGP and World Superbikes and all those competitions that fall into those categories, these are actually approved by FIM, and they are certified through Magneti Marelli, so that they can be used with the Magneti Marelli hardware that's on those motorbikes. So it's pretty cool to know. It is a Quickshifter that can be set up as a push or pull, of course. So, and it's very adjustable, as you will find out later on. So we'll cover pretty much most of the configuration settings in this video. There are some settings that don't apply, that I didn't really sort of go too much into detail, but most of them that you will definitely try to use, I have tried to cover in this video. Alright, so basically that's the top of the box. That's what sort of shows and displays the product really nicely and neatly. So if we take that out, what we have then here is the harness. So basically that's the, or this is, sorry, the ignition harness that you hook to your ignition coils, or hook up with the ignition coils. Those are the magic thread bolts that are going to be used for you to install the new shift rod on your motorbike. And then basically this is the plug from the control module that hooks up to the harness, and then the actual shift, the sensor is also can be unplugged. It's right now, it comes from the factory pre-plugged in, but you will most likely unplug it so that you can actually nicely install the hardware. So let's just cover it straight out of the bat. Basically, you will see here that these have two plugs. One is basically, or the bigger one, is to be plugged into the ignition coil plug, and this one is for the OEM harness that was originally plugged into the ignition coil to be connected to the back to the ignition, right? So that's all it is, and you do it for pretty much each coil or each cylinder, whatever you want to call it. And then what you do is you route this end towards wherever you want your control module to be hooked up with the harness. There is quite a bit of like the wiring looks like there's a lot of length to it, or like it's pretty long, because obviously, like as you can see here, it's got quite a bit of length there from the control module, and then you have this long cable to sort of get to there. So for those that are OCD, you will probably take your time to sort of tuck it away nice and neat. I myself sort of just basically routed the harness basically together with the OEM harness, so just it's further away from any sort of hot areas of the engine, and then basically I'll show you later in the video, but basically I just sort of tucked it all nicely away so it's safe, doesn't sort of get in the way of any sharp bits that are on the bike, so that, you know, the cable doesn't get cut, and then of course nothing too close to anything that's hot surface on the bike, so that it doesn't get melted. But further to the actual Quickshifter, or the IRC brand itself, so the manufacturer actually provides you with a 4-year manufacturer warranty for these products, which is a really, so in this day and age pretty much everything is 12. There's a few companies that do 2-year warranties. These guys do 4-year warranties on all their on all their hardware. So blippers and shifters, quick shifters, traction control modules that they make, launch controls, tire warmers, master cylinders, they apply for your warranty for those products, and this is included for the quick shifters. Going to say also is that they are actually water and dust proof, so regardless where you are in Australia, if you fit this quick shifter, it should be able to meet all the harshest environments that you might face anywhere in Australia. So here in Melbourne you can have really hot days and just awesome days, and then you can have rain, hail, shine, snow, dust, anything in one day at the same time. So, you know, for Melbourne conditions this is a perfect quick shifter, and then pretty much for everything else, for anywhere else in Australia, it's still pretty, it still should be coping very easily. So you will see from any close-up photo shots that we'll display in this video that pretty much everything is sort of sealed off nicely with the rubber coating, so that nothing can come into the module or the quick shift or the shift sensor itself. Yeah, so basically in this part we've covered that, you know, we've unboxed it and we've covered, you know, some key features of this quick shifter, and the next part is basically just how I have connected it and hooked it up to the engine, where I fitted the shifter module, how I've installed the shift the shift sensor, and then the part after that is going to be the setup. Okay, so basically what you see here is what it takes to get to the ignition coils if this is something that you haven't done before. So for all the sort of usual mechanics, this is a no-brainer. It's pretty easy, so you can pretty much skip to the configuration part. But for people that have never done this before, this is kind of what it will look like. So you'll have to pretty much lift up your tank, remove your airbox, and then you'll be able to get to your ignition coils. This is obviously an inline 4-cylinder GSXR 1000, so that's where you'll find most of the time for most inline 4 motorbikes the ignition coils to sit. For different bikes you'll have to probably do some more work. You might have to even actually remove the whole fuel tank, so it just comes down to sort of what bike you have. But yeah, just refer to your service manual or your owners or service manual to sort of find out what it takes to remove pretty much most of the these parts, so you can get to the ignition coils. Once you get to the ignition coils, pretty much it's a very simple process. I'm going to show you here on this cable what I've done here basically. So I'll just kind of point to my second from the right ignition coil, just because of the ease of access. So you see the cable, the plug here, that's basically this plug that's on the IRC ignition harness, and then that's plugged in directly to the ignition coil, and then the OEM harness that I've unplugged from the ignition coil is plugged into this little a plug here that's on the IRC ignition harness, and that's it. That's all you do to connect up the IRC harness to, obviously you have to do it for 4 or 2 or whichever, how many cylinders your bike has, coils, and then basically you have to figure out which way to route the harness. I myself followed the OEM harness, so as you can see here, so I've started from the right hand side and then basically connected it all up, and then followed that OEM harness down to the center of the bike, just beneath the seat, where it connects to the plug for the Quickshifter control module. So this is the third part of the video, which is how I have set it up on my bike. You might set it up a little bit differently on your motorbike, but what you can see here is I have attached the control module through Velcro onto the rear subframe of my GSXR, and then basically I've already installed the Quickshifter sensor. It's not very hard, like you don't need a video, there's heaps of videos on this regardless. So I think the most important part that's to be pointed out by me, that hasn't been pointed out in the user menu, is that the way or the direction in which the Quickshifter should be facing, right? So if you can see here, you have the cable coming out of this end, and that's the end that should be facing towards the front of the bike, and then this end here that you see that's kind of like shaven off or pointy, should be facing towards the back end of the bike, rear end of the bike, and then what I have done is I've left a little bit of slack there. I haven't fully actually tightened everything up, because this at the moment is a road setup and it's set to push to shift up. I will be changing to a race or GP shift setup, so that little arm there is going to be pointing down. So, and then basically I've kind of like just linked that cable up through the easiest, most neatest way into where like it goes behind the frame, and then it goes through there, and this is where the actual so just where my finger is, that's where I have used zip ties to zip tie the actual plug from the shift sensor to the control module. The actual harness plugs to the control module just underneath the fuel tank. I've got a little bracket there that was there for the XCVM exhaust valve motor. So I removed that motor a while ago, but I left the bracket there, and it was perfect to sort of place to hook up the and connect the wiring harness. So it looks really nice and neat. Alright, so I've just started the ignition on the bike, and right now the quick shifter is active. As soon as you press these two buttons together, you get into the first menu. So press and hold the buttons until you get to the first menu, which is the T, lowercase t, which is basically the menu for what ignition cut time you want to be set. So at the moment it's set to 60. The way you get into this menu, or each sub menu, is you press and hold the bottom button. Okay. As you can see, you don't have a whole lot of time to make the changes and sort of save them, because it times out pretty quickly, so you have to then go back into it. Just got a bit of like a small piece of Velcro here holding this at the moment. I'll zip tie that a little bit better. So okay, so we're in the first menu. The first menu is the ignition cut time. If you set it up to choose it manually, and you can go up and down in 1 millisecond increments. It's apparently the only quick shifter on the market that you can go below 35 milliseconds ignition cut time, which is pretty fast. I'm going to leave it at 60. The way you do that is you press and hold the top button until it goes back into the previous menu. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Now the next menu is the TP menu, which is where you select if you want to have the ignition cut time set manually by yourself like it was before at 60 milliseconds, or if you want it to be in U option, which is to have the control module calculate the best ignition cut time for the smoothest shifts up shifts, based by the proprietary software that IRC has on the inside here. So it considers the current RPM, the speed that you're traveling at, and also what gear you're in, to give you the absolute best and smoothest ignition cut time. You can improve that ignition cut time even further if you go into another menu. If you select this option, there will be another menu, which is the last menu on the list, which is the double lowercase r menu, where you can actually tell this module at which RPM you intend to shift up each time, and then it will also take that into the formula calculation to further improve the ignition cut time as well. So I'm pretty keen to actually test this option out at the track when the COVID-19 stage 4 restrictions end, and we can finally hit the tracks. Hopefully next track days at Phillip Island, where I can utilize that. So as you've noticed, I haven't done any changes. I was in the U setting on the TP menu. So if we enter in there, you'll notice nothing was saved, and I was in the F setting, which is for manual configuration of the ignition cut time. Setting after that is the L setting, and this setting is the preload adjustment. This is the shift rod sensitivity menu setting. Okay, so what this will allow you to set is the basically how much pressure you want to apply onto the shift rod until it engages the quick shifter to shift up. I think from memory it's set at 12. Oh no, it was set at 17, but I actually set it back to 12. From factory apparently it's supposed to come out at 12. The next menu or configurations menu is the S one, which I believe is the actual load display. So this is where you can actually measure the pressure that you are applying on the shift rod to see what the current pressure is to shift up. So as you can see here, I got up to about 9ish, 10. So I think I'm already kind of in gear, to be honest. Oh no, I'm not. So it's shifted up. So about 15, 16 is where it was before. So you can sort of gauge by that how much pressure you want applied. So it looks like, yeah, about 12 is where it's at. So I think that setting will be fine. Okay, so the next menu after the S menu is the lowercase r menu. Now the lowercase r menu basically is for you to see what your actual RPM reading is on the control module. You can use this to sync it with what the reading on your dashboard is. That will allow for a much better calculation of the ignition cut time if you set this control module to actually automatically select the ignition cut time. So this is what we were talking about previously in regards to the ignition cut type, if it's manual or automatic, F or U setting. So that will allow you to see what this reads as your current RPM, and then the next menu below that is RS, and that's where you actually can adjust the RPM on here, or RPM reading on here, so that it's synced correctly with your dashboard. So that's a pretty cool little setting there that allows you to further sort of have a little bit better adjustment and more precise readings. Next one is the minimum RPM limit. So the next menu is the SR menu, and that's the minimum RPM limit. So that's basically where you set what the minimum RPM is for the Quickshifter to be able to engage. Okay, so anything below that RPM limit, the Quickshifter will not engage, and you'll have to use the clutch to shift up. After that, another important sort of menu or setting is the push and pull setup, which is the CE menu. So in that menu, you actually tell the shifter module if it's going to be a push module or a push or pull action. So C stands for push and E stands for pull setting. So very simple basically. So as you saw, mine is set to C, which is for push because obviously I'm pushing to shift up. After that menu, if we go into the second menu from the top and we select U option for automatic cut time, okay, then at the last menu will be the double R menu that you enter, and then here you can actually tell it at which RPM you're intending to shift up in each gear. So you have to times it by 1000. So if it's showing 15,000, you're intending 15 here, that it means that you're tending to shift up at 15,000 RPM. So you know, you can go very high up, I guess. I'll leave it at 14 for now. And that's really it for the configuration of the Quickshifter. The Quickshifter itself doesn't work until you exit the menus, until it's like that part there is off. Once that's off, the Quickshifter can be engaged, but until then it's actually disabled. So that's like another safety precaution as well. I hope that this video again has given you enough info. If you know more, a little bit more than us about these Quickshifters and have a little bit more information, please do share it in the comments section below. If you have any more questions or remarks, again, leave them in the comment section below, and yeah, hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, thumbs down if you don't, and I just want to say thank you for watching and sticking around this long, and I hope you have a really nice rest of your day or night, and I'll see you next time.